Alright everyone, I've got the Spektrum DX5 Rugged to show you today, and I've had this radio probably about a month after it came out, and I've really been using it ever since. And usually when I get something in, I jump right on it and show it to you guys, but I kept this one to myself for a little bit. And I started really using it a lot and a lot more and a lot more, and this has quickly become probably my favorite radio to use. Now, a lot of you that are regular subscribers, you probably know that when I go out and film a lot of the action that you guys see in the other videos, I'm driving by myself and videoing at the same time. So I have a transmitter in one hand and I have the camera in the other hand, and I'm doing my thing. And, with a lot of radio systems out there, I can't really reach the wheel with my thumb when I go to steer. But since the DX5 has this thumb control on here, like I said, it's become my favorite radio. So I have been using it an awful lot for driving crawlers, scale trucks and stuff, and even for bashing. And this radio is really well equipped. And I'm not going to go over all the crazy details it has. I mean, it has the usual stuff that you would think, throttle and steering trim and endpoint adjustments. You could adjust steering speed and throttle curves, and even down to four-wheel steering and mixing. You could do all that. It pretty much has a lot of the high-end programming features that you see in Spektrum's other radios. And I will put a link to Spektrum, so you can see every little detail it has as far as what's in the menu here. But I mean, it's got everything that you could possibly need if you're a basher or a scale crawler, and probably even a racer as well. But I think this is really fitting for those that want to have fun in a versatile radio. So let me go over some of the other features that make this radio really special and stand out. And you probably notice, it's got these rubber guards all over it, and that's what makes it the Rugged. So if you go and drop it by accident, the rubber takes the impact and doesn't shatter your radio system, which is a super cool idea because I've dropped my radio a number of times over the years, and I'm sure a lot of other people have as well. And it's really about time that somebody came out with this. So that is super cool, that they've done that. And it looks awesome too. I mean, it just looks like a rugged and durable radio system. I think they really nailed it on the look of this radio. The other thing that really stands out is they have these little loops here, and those are for lanyards. So a lot of people like to have lanyards to secure their radio system. So it's got two spots where you could do that. You could either have it hanging or just swing it in front of you when you're not in use off the lanyard. But that helps out some people. I don't actually use it, but I have seen a lot of people use it. It also has this chassis guard, as I believe that's what they're referring to in the instructions. So this is the chassis guard here, and supposedly you could go and mount some things on it. And I was like, okay, I get that. Maybe lights or some other device that you would need. Maybe you could, put your winch control on there or something like that. But, it's pretty neat that they went and just added some additional functionality to it. It does have a rubber grip on here, and it has a ton of trim dials all over the place. This is a 5-channel radio system. So your steering is number 1, your throttle's number 2, and then you have the rest to play with. So you could, set up a winch servo on there if you want to, or, maybe an LED light setup, a remote switch. And so that is really cool that it has that functionality to it. It does have 20 model memory, so that's actually quite a lot. I can't remember the last time I programmed something over 20 models in a radio system, but you have up to 20 models to mess around with. The other super cool feature is this little door back here. If you're just going out for a quick fun crawl, I mean, usually when I go out for a long extended crawl, I've got a backpack full of gear with me, but it has this little compartment back here. You go put a cross wrench in here, maybe a couple screws and some Allen wrenches and stuff like that, and so you could just carry your gear in there in case something happens to your rig. There's also a data port back there, so I guess in the future if there are any updates, you could go ahead and update it and keep your radio system up and current. The other cool thing on the face here, besides the thumb control, I mean, this is just really cool. That thumb control, it works pretty well. I guess I got an average size hand here, but I am able to swing the steering wheel the entire length from side to side. So that works, but the wheel itself is pretty neat. So it kind of has this off-road tire look to it, but underneath the rubber is actually like a foam insert in a car tire. So it gives it a nice, squishy type feel. It's not going to fatigue your hand at all. And what's actually really nice is the radio system itself is rather light. So, if you're out for long drives, you're just not going to get tired of holding the radio system. I've been in racing events where, you're out there on the stand for an hour-long main with a heavy radio system, and at the end, your arm is numb from driving so long. But it just uses 4 AA's, which is accessed through the bottom here. I was surprised that they didn't have a little set screw to kind of hold the door in. So, I'm guessing they've got a good latch on there, which it's got a pretty good click to it. But I was a little surprised that they didn't have a set screw to hold that in as well. Turning it on is pretty simple. It's a button over here on the side. You have to hold it down, and same thing to shut it off. And, that took a little bit of getting used to when I've been using the radio system. I'd just push it really quick thinking it's like a momentary switch, but you really have to hold it to let it know that it's shutting off. And there, I just turned it on. I held it for a second. But the screen is really easy to read. You could go and program the different names if you want to, and you could see your basic trim functions up here in the front, and then just the menus are really easy to scroll through once you get a handle on the menu scrolling feature here. So on the back side, and this is a complaint that some people have, is the the scrolling feature on this. So here's the deal. This is basically like a water resistant radio system here, and they kind of say it's splash or drop proof or something, and they give you some detail in the instruction manual on what you can and can't do with this. But like if you're out and it starts to rain or drizzle, you don't really have to worry about it because it's a sealed system here. So because of that, these buttons, or not buttons, or slide controls, you really have to understand how it works, and it takes some getting used to. I mean, to the point they have a separate instruction sheet here to kind of let you know, like, hey, it takes some getting used to. This is how it operates, and so it takes a little while. I will say that. It takes a little while to get used to, but I think after the 3rd or 4th time I was using this radio system to control a vehicle, I got the hang of it. I got it all figured out, and I was able to do it from there. But again, when you get this, don't get discouraged with it. Just learn it, and after you learn it, it's totally cool after that. So, again, there's a lot of stuff in the menus to go through, program, and it's a versatile radio system for bashers and racers and crawlers. There is a tensioner for the wheels, so you could adjust the wheel tension on there. And I think that's really it. I mean, it's a cool looking radio, number one. It does the job. It's going to be tough if you go and drop it and everything. And I think they did a really good job coming out with a radio system that people want. This thumb control is super cool. It's not a completely new concept in the RC industry. I mean, people have kind of been making their own little thumb control in the past, and I think there was a company that made like a little teardrop wheel that you could put on there. But Spektrum is the first company to integrate that in with a mass-produced radio that you could buy that I'm aware of. I mean, I've been in the hobby for over 30 years. Don't really recall ever seeing this. So that is very cool that they went ahead and recognized a need for it and came out with it. As far as what else comes with the radio system, it's really basic. It comes with the SR515 receiver, so you got a 5-channel receiver here, nice and small. You could actually put an antenna in here, so if you just wanted to mount it to the chassis and have an antenna, stick up, it comes right out of the receiver. That is pretty neat. It's got a bind button on there now instead of plugs that were used to bind the receiver in the past. I mentioned the little instruction sheet it comes with, and then it has a full manual here that you could go through and learn all of the different functions and how they operate. It's really well explained and should get pretty much anybody through the setup procedures on it. But overall, guys, I really just wanted to stop what I was doing and finally do a quick review of this, let you know how I feel about it. And like I said before, this is actually one of my favorite radios now. It goes into a lot of vehicles, especially one where when I have to drive on my own, I can go ahead and do it. It makes my life a lot easier. Walking along the trail and just being able to drive and hold the camera for other shots that I want to do and stuff. Spektrum really nailed it for this, and I've been using it for crawlers. Like I said, I've been using it for basher vehicles, and it really just gives me all the functionality that I need out of a radio system. If you're looking to upgrade from a ready-to-run radio system or just need to replace an old radio system, I think this has everything you're going to need and is going to last a long time in the future.